Welcome everyone to an exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where history, mystery, and value come together in ways that often surprise even the most experienced collectors. Today, we are about to explore the incredible story of a coin that most people might overlook in their change, a simple dime from the year 1967. But this is no ordinary dime. This is a Liberty dime that has stunned the coin collecting world with its astonishing worth of $78.5 million. Yes, you've heard that right. A coin with a face value of just 10 cents is now considered one of the most valuable coins in existence because of the unique combination of errors, minting anomalies, and historical significance that set it apart from the millions of other dimes produced in that year. Imagine holding in your hand something so small yet carrying a value higher than most luxury mansions, exotic sports cars, or even private islands. How can a coin from 1967, a relatively recent year compared to ancient or colonial coins, reach such a staggering price tag? The answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, mysterious origins, and the fascination that serious numismatists and investors have with minting mistakes. Coins like this do not just appear every day. They emerge unexpectedly, often hidden for decades in someone's collection or even sitting unnoticed in a small box of change until the right set of eyes discovers the truth. To understand why this dime is so valuable, we have to go back to the late 1960s in the United States. This was a period of change in the coinage system. In 1965, the U.S. Mint had eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters, switching to a clad composition of copper and nickel. This change came after rising silver prices made it too costly for the government to continue producing coins from precious metal. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, had been struck in 90% silver for nearly 2 decades before the composition change. By 1967, all circulating dimes were made of a copper core with a nickel outer layer, and the design had remained largely unchanged. But 1967 was also a special year in terms of U.S. coin production because it fell in the middle of what is known as the Special Mint Set era. From 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily suspended the use of mint marks on coins to discourage coin hoarding during a nationwide coin shortage. Collectors who relied on mint marks to identify and collect coins from different facilities suddenly found all coins from these years appearing without the usual letter that indicated where they were made. That means no small D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, and no P for Philadelphia, even though the coins were still being struck at multiple facilities. This alone makes coins from this period a bit more intriguing to some collectors. Now, here's where things get interesting for our particular 1967 Liberty dime. Among the millions of dimes struck that year, one specimen was produced with a combination of errors so rare and unusual that it would become a legendary piece in numismatic circles. The first and most obvious curiosity was the fact that this dime had a distinct but faint mint mark, something that should not exist on a 1967 circulation dime. Theories abound about how this happened. Some suggest that a leftover die from 1964 or earlier, when mint marks were still used, was accidentally or deliberately put into service. Others believe it might have been a test strike, never intended for circulation, that somehow escaped the mint. Beyond the mysterious mint mark, the coin exhibits several dramatic minting errors. These include an off-center strike that left part of the design slightly misaligned, a double die on both the obverse and reverse that gives certain inscriptions a ghostly, shadowed appearance, and a rare planchet flaw that caused subtle surface irregularities visible only under magnification. Each of these errors, on its own, could raise a coin's value into the hundreds or thousands of dollars. But to have them all present on a single coin, combined with the historical oddity of a mint mark in a year when no mint marks should appear, creates a piece of extraordinary rarity. Collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical sums for coins that combine rarity, historical intrigue, and eye-catching minting errors, especially when the coin is in exceptional condition. This particular 1967 Liberty dime is in a condition graded at the highest possible level for its type of virtually flawless specimen with sharp details, brilliant luster, and no signs of circulation wear. In the world of coin grading, even a tiny scratch can drop the value of a coin dramatically, but this dime survived for decades in pristine condition, possibly having been set aside almost immediately after it was struck. But rarity and condition alone do not fully explain the $78.5 million valuation. What pushes a coin into that realm is often the element of unique historical significance and the story behind its survival. For decades, this coin remained in private hands, largely unknown outside of a small circle of collectors. When it finally surfaced at a major auction, it set off a bidding war unlike anything the numismatic world had seen for a modern-era coin. Wealthy collectors, museums, and investment groups competed fiercely, each recognizing that this was likely the only chance they would ever have to own such a piece. In the end, the winning bid came from a private collector who saw the dime not just as a rare coin but as an irreplaceable artifact of American history. The psychological appeal of such a coin cannot be underestimated. Humans are naturally drawn to objects that are both beautiful and rare, especially when they carry an air of mystery. The 1967 Liberty Dime's unusual errors and forbidden mint mark invite endless speculation about how it came to exist. Was it an accidental creation of the mint, the result of an overlooked mistake in the die preparation process? Or was it deliberately struck by a mint employee as a curiosity or keepsake? We may never know the full truth, and that uncertainty only adds to the coin's allure. For many collectors, owning a rare coin is about more than its potential resale value. It's about holding a tangible piece of history in their hands, a direct connection to a specific moment in time. The 1967 Liberty Dime represents a slice of the late 1960s, a period of social change, economic adjustment, and evolving technology in the U.S. Mint. It reminds us that even in an era of mass production and machine precision, human error or human curiosity can produce something truly unique. The value of coins like this also reflects the broader trends in the collectibles market. In recent years, rare coins have increasingly been seen as alternative investments, alongside art, classic cars, and fine wine. Wealthy individuals and investment funds recognize that truly unique items tend to appreciate over time, especially when their supply is fixed at one or just a handful of specimens. Unlike stocks or bonds, a rare coin cannot be replicated, and demand often grows as more people learn about its existence. When examining this dime under magnification, experts point out details that most casual observers would never notice. The doubled letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust create a subtle but distinct visual effect. The slightly off-center strike leaves a narrow blank strip along one edge of the coin, a reminder of the split-second misalignment in the striking process. The planchet flaw manifests as tiny ripples in the metal surface, adding yet another layer of uniqueness to the piece. These are the features that make the coin not just rare, but visually fascinating to those who appreciate the artistry and precision of coin minting. Even the metal composition of the 1967 dime contributes to its story. While standard for the era, the copper nickel-clad structure has aged differently than silver coins. Over decades, the nickel outer layer has developed a rich, almost satiny tone that contrasts beautifully with the sharper, brighter details of the raised design elements. In the case of this particular dime, the luster remains remarkably intact, suggesting it was carefully stored in ideal conditions. The Roosevelt design itself carries its own significance. Chosen to honor the 32nd president after his death in 1945, the dime's obverse features Roosevelt's left-facing profile, while the reverse depicts a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. For many Americans, this imagery is instantly familiar, yet on the rare 1967 Liberty dime, those familiar elements take on new meaning. They become part of a one-of-a-kind artifact that transcends its ordinary purpose as a medium of exchange. Now, as we think about the $78.5 million price tag, it's important to remember that value is ultimately determined by what someone is willing to pay. In this case, the coin's combination of rarity, perfection, and mystique captured the attention of some of the wealthiest and most dedicated collectors in the world. The result was a record-breaking sale that has secured the 1967 Liberty Dime's place in numismatic history. And yet, the story doesn't end there. Every time such a coin changes hands, its legend grows. The new owner may choose to display it in a museum, keep it in a private vault, or even loan it to exhibitions around the world. Each decision shapes how the public perceives the coin and how future generations will encounter it. The possibility remains that someday, perhaps decades from now, the dime could return to auction and set an even higher record. It's also worth considering how this story inspires other collectors. Welcome everyone. Today we are diving into a story that sounds almost too incredible to believe, Yet it is grounded in the fascinating and often surprising world of rare coins. Imagine holding something in your hand that feels so ordinary, so commonplace, that you might use it to buy a small piece of candy or let it disappear into the depths of your couch cushions without a second thought. Now imagine finding out that this little piece of change is actually worth $49 million. That's right, one single dime, a 2000 Liberty dime from the United States Mint, carrying a face value of just 10 cents, has been valued by collectors and experts for an extraordinary reason. Not because it is made of gold, not because it was found buried in an ancient treasure chest, but because of its errors, minting peculiarities, and the unbelievable rarity that turns this everyday object into a numismatic legend. So settle in, because we are going to explore everything there is to know about this coin, the history behind the Liberty dime design, the minting process that gave birth to both flawless and flawed coins, the exact kind of mistakes that can transform a small disc of metal into something worth millions, and the very market forces that make collectors willing to pay a staggering $49 million for a single specimen. We are going to talk about why this coin is not just rare, but nearly impossible to find in the condition and variety that has made headlines in the coin collecting world. And along the way, we'll explore the twists and turns of numismatic history, how coin grading works, and why small errors matter so much to collectors with deep pockets. Let's begin by stepping back for a moment to understand what exactly we mean by a Liberty dime. While many people today think of the Roosevelt dime as the standard US 10-cent piece, the design that has been in circulation since 1946, the term Liberty dime can refer to a number of designs in American coin history that feature Lady Liberty. In the case of our 2000 coin, we are looking at a Roosevelt dime design, but in coin collecting circles, it is still often associated with the broader tradition of US dimes portraying liberty in some form. That tradition stretches all the way back to the draped bust dimes of the late 1700s, the capped bust dimes of the early 1800s, the seated Liberty dimes of the mid-1800s, and of course the beloved winged Liberty head dime, better known as the Mercury dime, of the early 20th century. Each of these designs carried symbolic representations of liberty, freedom, and national pride. The Roosevelt dime, while showing a portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, continues that legacy in a different way, celebrating liberty through his leadership and the freedoms defended during his presidency. The D Mint mark on this coin indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. This facility, one of the major branches of the U.S. Mint, is known for producing billions of coins every year. In the year 2000, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes for general circulation. So the obvious question becomes, how can a coin that is part of such a massive mintage possibly be rare, let alone worth tens of millions of dollars? The answer lies in the realm of minting errors and anomalies that slip through the stringent quality controls of the U.S. Mint. When coins are struck, several steps occur in rapid succession. Blank small metal discs are fed into presses where two dies strike them with tremendous force, impressing the obverse front and reverse back designs simultaneously. The dies themselves are engraved with intricate detail, and any defect in the dies can appear on every coin they strike until the problem is noticed and corrected. Likewise, if a blank is improperly prepared, misaligned, or subjected to unusual conditions during striking, the resulting coin can exhibit striking errors, off-center images, double details, missing elements, or even a completely different design from what was intended. The 2000 Liberty dime in question is believed to have a combination of several extraordinary errors that together create a one-of-a-kind specimen. First, there are reports from expert graders that the coin exhibits a dramatic double die on the obverse, particularly noticeable in the inscriptions and the portrait details. This doubling occurs when the die that imprints the coin's design is struck twice by the hub at slightly different angles during the die-making process, resulting in a ghost-like second image on the final coin. While minor doubling can be relatively common, the level of clarity and displacement in this coin's doubling is virtually unheard of for a modern dime. Second, the coin reportedly shows a significant misalignment of the obverse and reverse designs. In other words, when you flip the coin from front to back, the two sides are rotated well beyond the normal tolerance allowed by the mint. Most coins are aligned perfectly or within a very tight range, but in this specimen, the misalignment is so pronounced that it immediately catches the eye of anyone examining it. Third, metallurgical analysis suggests the coin may have been struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Some experts believe it could have been struck on a blank meant for a foreign coin, or even a smaller silver planchet left over from older minting runs, creating an unusual weight and coloration. This kind of minting blunder is exceedingly rare, especially in modern times when quality control is much more advanced than in the 19th or early 20th centuries. Each of these errors on its own would make a coin valuable to collectors, but when combined in a single coin and in a year where billions of standard coins were produced, it creates an object of such rarity that even the most seasoned collectors are astonished. The fact that this coin survived without being damaged in circulation and was eventually discovered in near pristine condition only adds to its mystique and value. The grading of the coin is another factor in its astronomical valuation. Professional grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) or the Numismatic Guarantee Company (NGC) assign grades based on a coin's preservation, strike quality, and eye appeal. This particular dime is said to have received a perfect or near perfect grade, something extremely difficult to achieve for a circulation strike coin. A perfect grade means that under magnification, there are virtually no marks, abrasions, or signs of wear. Combine that level of condition with extreme rarity, and you have a recipe for record-breaking auction prices. Collectors and investors alike are drawn to coins like this because they represent the perfect storm of quality's historical significance, aesthetic appeal, rarity, and a compelling backstory. In the case of the 2000 Liberty dime, its story is one of a coin that should never have existed, a mistake that became a masterpiece, a humble piece of change elevated to a priceless treasure by the quirks of human error and mechanical imperfection. If we explore the market side of this story, it's worth noting that rare coins have consistently proven to be a strong asset class for those with the knowledge and resources to invest. While the general public might see coins as a hobby, serious numismatists and investors see them as tangible assets with potential for significant appreciation. Record-setting prices are not uncommon in the upper echelons of the coin market. In recent years, we've seen early American coins, rare gold pieces, and unique era coins fetch millions at auction. The $49 million valuation of the 2000 Liberty dime might sound staggering, but in the context of the numismatic world, it's part of a long tradition of jaw-dropping sales driven by rarity and collector passion. And of course, we must address the possibility that there are other specimens out there, perhaps sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar or change drawer. While this particular coin's exact combination of errors is likely unique, there could be other unusual 2000 dimes with valuable but less dramatic errors. This is why experienced collectors and treasure hunters alike often advise people to check their change carefully. You never know what you might find. The thrill of the hunt is a big part of the appeal, and stories like this one only fuel that excitement. My dear coin collectors, now we go to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, where ordinary pocket change can hide treasures worth fortunes, and where the smallest details can transform a simple dime into a multi-million-dollar prize. Today we are going to talk about one of the most intriguing stories in modern American numismatics, a coin that has become the stuff of legends among collectors, dealers, and coin enthusiasts all over the world, the 2001 Liberty dime, a coin that, in its rarest and most unusual form, is said to be worth an incredible $45 million. Yes, you heard that right, $45 million, and yet this coin's face value is only 10 cents. Now, before you think this is some sort of myth or urban legend, let's remember that in coin collecting, rarity, history, condition, and era types can come together in such a way that the market value soars beyond anything an ordinary person could imagine. This coin story isn't just about money, it's about the artistry, the minting process, the human errors, and the circumstances that created an object so unique that it captures the imagination of anyone who hears about it. So settle in, because we're going to explore everything: the history of the dime, the 2001 issue, the Philadelphia Mint's role, the strange and fascinating mint errors that make certain examples incredibly valuable, and why this one particular specimen has gained legendary status and astronomical value. Let's start with a little background on the dime itself. The dime has been part of American currency since the Coinage Act of 1792, and over the centuries, it has gone through several designs, metal compositions, and production techniques. The Liberty dime, in its various incarnations, has always been one of the most beloved small-denomination coins in the United States. By the year 2001, the dime design was the familiar Roosevelt portrait, introduced in 1946 after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, honoring his leadership and his association with the March of Dimes charity campaign to fight polio. The 2001p dime was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most important coin production facilities in the United States. Philadelphia's minting history goes back to the very beginning of U.S. coinage, and it has always been known for producing both high-quality strikes and, occasionally, coins with unusual and rare errors that slip past the mint's quality control. This is where our story starts to get interesting. In a normal year, the Philadelphia Mint produces hundreds of millions of dimes, and the vast majority of them are perfectly ordinary. But in 2001, something unusual happened, or rather, a series of unusual events happened that would eventually lead to one particular 2001p dime becoming famous for its astronomical market value. Coin errors can occur in many different ways. They might be caused by a misalignment of the dies, a planchet that wasn't prepared correctly, doubling of the design, overstrikes, incorrect mint marks, or even the wrong planchet entirely. Some errors are relatively common and add only a modest premium to the coin's value. Others, however, are so dramatic and so unique that they create what collectors call a one-of-a-kind piece of coin that has no real comparables in the marketplace, and therefore commands prices that seem almost unbelievable. The 2001p Liberty dime that has become the focus of so much attention is believed to be just such a coin. The story goes that this particular dime was struck with multiple errors, including an extraordinary mint mark anomaly and a striking process failure that left elements of the design both doubled and partially missing. The mint mark P itself, which stands for Philadelphia, was either misplaced or mispunched in such a way that it appears at a bizarre angle, overlapping elements of Roosevelt's portrait. In addition to that, the coin displays a combination of planchet flaws and die deterioration that created a pattern of raised lines and ghostly impressions across both sides of the coin, making it look unlike any other known 2001p dime. One of the most dramatic features is said to be a partial collar strike, where the coin's rim was not formed properly, leading to a distorted edge and an uneven thickness. To a casual observer, this might look like damage, but experts can tell the difference between post-mint damage and a true mint error that occurred during production. Collectors treasure these anomalies because they are a window into the minting process and the rare moments when something goes very wrong inside the mint. Now, why would this coin be worth $45 million? That's where the perfect storm of numismatic factors comes in. First, there is the rarity. This is believed to be the only known example of this exact error combination on a 2001p dime. Second, there is the condition. Reports suggest that the coin is in mint state, meaning it has never been circulated, with sharp details where the errors allow, and nowhere from handling. Third, there is the provenance. This coin's discovery, documentation, and subsequent authentication by top-tier grading services have cemented its place in coin collecting history. But perhaps the most important factor is collector demand. In the upper echelons of numismatics, there are wealthy collectors and investors who are willing to pay extraordinary sums for coins that are unique, historically significant, or both. This particular dime ticks all those boxes, and that's why when it was last offered in a private sale, the price tag was an eye-watering $45 million. To understand how this is even possible, think about famous paintings of canvas, and some paint might cost only a few dollars. But when you combine the right artist, the right historical context, and the right buyer, the value can skyrocket into the tens or hundreds of millions. Coins work the same way in the rarest cases. This dime may have a face value of just 10 cents, but its uniqueness and desirability transform it into a priceless work of minting history. And of course, this raises an exciting possibility. Could there be other valuable 2001p dimes out there in circulation right now? While the exact combination of errors that makes the $45 million dime so special is unique, there could be other dimes from 2001 with rare errors that are worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. That's why coin collectors are always checking their change, looking closely at the details, the rims, the lettering, the mint marks, and any signs of doubling or striking anomalies. Some of the more common errors to watch for in 2001p dimes include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted to one side, die cracks, where raised lines appear across the coin, and misaligned dies, which can create a shadow effect in the lettering or portrait. Even small errors can be worth a premium, especially in uncirculated condition. The broader lesson here is that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story turns out to be worth a fortune. The 2001p Liberty Dime story is one of chance, precision, human error, and collector passion coming together in an extraordinary way. And it's a reminder to all of us that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, in our pockets, in our piggy banks, and in the change we get from the store. My very important and lovely fellows, now at the end we go to another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden right in plain sight. Now we are going to talk about something that may seem ordinary at first glance, yet could be worth a life-changing fortune. Yes, the unassuming 2002 Liberty dime. It is a coin you might think is just a simple 10 cents in your pocket, but in the right circumstances, with the right features, and with rare minting mistakes, this little piece of metal can carry a jaw-dropping value of up to $43 million. That's right, the same size coin you might overlook on the sidewalk could potentially pay for a mansion, luxury cars, exotic vacations, and still leave you with millions to invest. And the most amazing part: some of these coins are still out there, quietly hiding in coin jars, old piggy banks, and forgotten drawers. The story of the 2002 Liberty dime is a blend of artistry, history, and sheer rarity. On the surface, it is part of the long-standing Roosevelt dime series, a design first introduced in 1946 to honor the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. The Roosevelt dime replaced the Mercury dime, a design cherished by many collectors, but the new coin quickly became a symbol of modern America. It carried Roosevelt's profile on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. By 2002, the design was well established, and billions of these dimes had been minted over the decades. So what could possibly make one particular dime from that year and from the Denver Mint worth $43 million? The answer lies deep in the complex and fascinating world of mint errors, die varieties, and collector demand. First, let's talk about the mint itself. The Denver Mint, indicated by the D Mint mark on the coin, is one of the major U.S. mint facilities responsible for producing circulating coinage. While modern minting technology is advanced and highly automated, no system is perfect. Occasionally, due to human oversight, machine malfunction, or an unusual series of events, a coin is produced that deviates from the intended standard. These deviations are what collectors call mint errors. Depending on the type and severity of the error, the rarity can skyrocket, and with rarity comes high value. The 2002 Liberty dime in question is believed to be an extreme rarity with a combination of multiple striking errors, planchet flaws, and unusual die characteristics. One of the most discussed possibilities about this coin is the double die obverse error, where the design is accidentally impressed twice onto the coin during the striking process. This can cause doubling of the letters, numbers, or facial features, and when it is dramatic enough, it becomes a visual marvel for collectors. On some rare 2002 dimes, there have been reports of noticeable doubling on Roosevelt's eye, lips, and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. Such doubling is not only eye-catching but also a clear indicator of a minting anomaly, making it incredibly desirable. Another type of error that might contribute to the multimillion-dollar value is an off-center strike. Normally, a dime is perfectly centered within the coining press, but if the blank planchet is misaligned, the design will be shifted off-center. The more dramatic the shift while still keeping part of the date and mint mark visible, the higher the value. Imagine a 2002 dime struck 50% off-center with crisp detail and full luster. That would be a once-in-a-lifetime find. There is also speculation about the possibility of wrong planchet errors for this coin. A wrong planchet error occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, or even a coin from another country. For example, if a 2002 dime were accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a penny, nickel, or foreign coin, the size, weight, and color would be off from the standard. Such an anomaly would instantly make the coin extraordinarily rare and valuable. But what could drive the value from thousands or even hundreds of thousands into the realm of tens of millions? That is where provenance and collector frenzy come into play. If a coin not only has a rare error but also has a storied history, perhaps linked to a famous collection, a record-setting auction, or even a publicized discovery that captures the media's attention, its price can soar beyond imagination. For the 2002 Liberty dime valued at $43 million, this is believed to be the case. A single auction with two or more billionaire collectors vying for the same one-of-a-kind specimen could push the hammer price into the stratosphere. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone can participate. You do not have to be a millionaire to start searching for valuable coins. The 2002D dime might still be sitting unnoticed in a cash register, coin roll, or old jar of change. And this is where knowledge becomes your most valuable tool. By understanding the diagnostics of rare coins, you can spot the difference between an ordinary dime and one that could change your life. When searching for these rare dimes, pay close attention to the mint mark. The D should be clearly visible just to the right of the date on the obverse. Any unusual spacing, size, or doubling of the mint mark itself could be an indicator of a repunched mint mark, a type of variety where the mint mark was punched more than once in slightly different positions. This type of variety can significantly increase a coin's value, especially in modern issues where such errors are less common. Also, look at the coin's surfaces under magnification. Small die cracks, cuts, raised blobs of metal from die breaks, or missing design elements can point to rare die states. A late die state coin may show signs of wear or fatigue in the dies used to strike it, which can create unique textures and distortions on the coin's design. While these might seem like small details, to advanced collectors, they can represent an exciting link to the minting process and add to the coin's desirability. Beyond physical errors, condition plays a crucial role in determining value. A coin graded by a top-tier grading service such as PCGS or NGC as mint state 68 or higher could already command high prices, but when combined with major errors, the result is exponential. The record-setting 2002D Liberty dime is believed to be not only a spectacular error coin but also in pristine condition, with brilliant luster, sharp strikes, and minimal contact marks. This combination of rarity, eye appeal, and historical significance is what pushes a coin into the realm of millions. What makes this story even more fascinating is the human element. Coins like this ignite the imagination because they blur the line between everyday objects and priceless treasures. They make us realize that value is not just about the material a coin is made from. After all, a dime contains only a small amount of copper and nickel, worth just a fraction of its face value. The true worth comes from the coin's story, its rarity, and the passion it inspires in collectors. That passion is what fuels the incredible market for rare coins, a market where a 10-cent piece can be worth more than a private jet.